just enough this week. I'm gorgeous. Hey, hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 14, Episode 10. 10, aka the Snatch Game from Hell. But before we get to the yummy stuff, I've got some people to thank. You know I do. First off, my tipper-doos. Danielle Olipra, who got a new job after being unemployed during COVID. Well done, Danielle. And congratulations, seriously. Joanne Robertson, who's been buying some Juvia's Place eyeshadows because of my, well, bad influence. Tell him I sent you, Joanne. It won't do anything, but I just like people to tell others that I sent them. Makes me feel special. I also want to thank Catherine McGreechin, who sent some love this week, and I love you right back, doll. You know I do. I also got a very generous tipper-doo from Stephanie Santuanuparp via my PayPal link on my link tree, which is attached to my Instagram and I think my Twitter. So thank you so much, Stephanie. Seriously. And of course, much love to my tipper-doo boyfriend, Vito. I love you, Vito. Seriously. And finally, I would like to send some love to Nicholas Sweet, who is one of my Patreoners, but he just upgraded himself from Diva to the Princess tier on my Patreon page. Thanks for the upgrade, Nick. I love you. You know it's true. If you would like to be a tipper-doo or join the Fingerdoo family on Patreon, well, all those links are down below. I also want to send a shout out to House of Milan, the only nails that I wear, well, other than my press-on French tips, but I haven't worn those in a long time. So it's you, House of Milan. Mwah! Seriously. Okay, let's get to our pucker on. Jorge, drink me. Oh, the glass may be different, but that drink is the same. I love a good pucker. I won't lie to any of you. All right. Now, let's get to the important stuff here. This was a way more poignant episode than I thought it was going to be. First of all, well, the queens bid farewell to no one, but that didn't mean there still weren't tears. Okay, mostly from Deja, poor thing, who was starting to get irritated by falling short of a win. And why wouldn't she? Seriously. Speaking of irritated, Daya was not happy about there still being 8 queens in the race, and did nothing to hide it. Jasmine seemed to be okay with it. Probably because it bothered Daya, I'm just going to say it. After the queens congratulated Bosco on her second win, well, they all got out of drag. The next day in the workroom, Jasmine tried to explain what being in the bottom 3 times was doing to her game plan, but thankfully, Rue's video message cut her off. Bless. Clearly, from all the iconic quotes from past Snatch Games, the queens were more than ready for this week's Maxi challenge, but when Rue arrived, well, she had a mini challenge for them to complete first. I love a mini challenge. This week, the queens had to create wearable pop art by making an outfit in 30 minutes out of, wait for it, bubble wrap. Get it? Pop art? Yeah, I know, lame. And then once dolled up, they had to walk the red bubble carpet and gnash their teeth for the paparazzi. Speaking of, did you see that paparazzi? He can be my papa any day, I'm just gonna say. Nash, nash, nash. It was a free-for-all as the queens made a grab for the colorful bubbles, which was the name of my fringe play. Georgia seemed to recreate her challenge win runway with her bubble wrap. Hey, it's a silhouette she's comfortable with, I'm just saying. Lady Camden left no bubble wrap behind as she took to the red bubble carpet. It's a lot to look at is all I'm saying. Angie took the bubble theme further by popping out of her fabulous bubble gown. Seriously. Looking at those first 3 queens, Rue was reminded of 80s freestyle pop group and the 8th biggest girl group in music history, Expose. Of course, the queens had no idea what Rue was talking about. No? Expose? Come go with me? Point of no return? Seasons change? I'm with Rue. I am getting too old for this. I'll bet, though, that there's a spike for Expose in search engines all across the world today. Seriously. Learn things! Willow proves she loves her some hobble dresses by creating a seafoam green one. And yes, seafoam was my drag queen name in high school. Daya's look was cute, but that little ponytail on her bald head was giving me Alice the Goon vibes. From Popeye? No? Seriously, what do you do all day? I have to admit that Deja's look was the most pulled together of the bunch, and at first glance, I wouldn't have known that that dress was made from bubble wrap. Seriously, well done, Deja. Lady Camden was right. Bosco was giving me memories of Aquaria's entrance look. Not that that was a bad thing. Seriously. Last but not least was Jasmine, who was so committed to popping her look with her tig old biddies, well, that she flipped her wig. Literally. Once the ASMR assault was over, Ru announced that the winner of the Poppity Pop 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 was Bosco. Here's to Bosco, seriously. Personally, I would have given it to Jasmine because her look made me laugh and, well, she seemed to do the most damage to that bubble carpet. Just me. And then Ru announced that this week's Maxi challenge was the Snatch Game. The queens went wild. Little did they know. As the queens got their celebrity impersonations together, Ru dropped in to see what was what. Her first stop was with Georges, who said she was impersonating Broad City's Alana Glazer. I'm not sure if Ru liked Georges' choice or not, but she did ask her what her other choices were, which is never a good thing. Personally, I would like to say it's never easy to portray a funny person unless you're funny yourself. And as cute as Georges is, she has never made me laugh. Well, on purpose anyway. Georges' other choices were Selena and Parks and Recreation's Aubrey Plaza. Of course, Ru asked to hear Georges' Aubrey Plaza, which completely caught Georges off guard. Personally, I didn't think that bode well for her Alana Glazer either, seriously. Next was Daya Betty, who revealed she was doing Ozzy Osbourne, which Ru seemed to approve of because, well, she didn't ask what her backups were. Although I have to admit, I was worried when Daya said she doesn't do celebrity impersonations. Well, she better start now because it's Snatch Game. Seriously, do these baby queens have strokes or just plain old forget it's coming? It's like sewing. Up next was Angeria with one of my favorite wigs of the season. I just love a puff ball afro, especially when it's got a side part in it. But I have to admit, I was surprised that Angie was planning to do Tammy Brown, especially in that wig. I have to say, I hate it when queens choose to do other Drag Race queens as a celebrity impersonation. No offense, but it's right down there with impersonating internet personalities. Not to say that some people haven't had success doing just that, but those high points are few and far between. Seriously. I mean, do you know that no one has done Betty Davis yet on Drag Race? And if you ask me who Betty Davis is, I will poke you with this brush. As a side note, I also thought it was a brave choice to do Tammy Brown because of the on-air fight she had with Ru during the season 1 Ru Union. Seriously, I could almost see Ru planning a bottom 2 position for Angie right there. And then, little did any of us know. Next was Jasmine, who was going from looking like a 40-year-old woman to a 50-year-old by choosing to portray former education gorgon Betsy DeVos. Barf. I thought this was a good idea because where the Republicans are concerned, there's lots to make fun of. And, well, Ru had some great advice on how to play her, but still, we're talking about Jasmine Kennedy here. No offense, but I was worried for her. Deja Skye revealed that she was going to be impersonating Lil Jon. Normally, I hate it when queens portray men on Snatch Game. There are only 3 exceptions. The queen who started it all, Kennedy Davenport's Little Richard, Ben de la Creme as Pauline, and then, of course, Shea Coulee as Flava Flav. So as far as I was concerned, Deja had a lot to live up to. Seriously. Lady Camden was next with her plans to portray William Shakespeare, which I thought was more because she's British than any overt familiarity with the bard. Elsie was another one Ru asked who her backups were. Elsie said Joanna Lumley as Patsy Stone, obviously, and Ru jumped all over that by suggesting she combine the two. God, I wish she had. And then it was time for Snatch Game, but apparently this one was from hell. I had high hopes for Lady Camden because out of the gate, her Billy Shakespeare was a hoot, although, Why she chose to give him breasts is beyond me. Also, I would have been super impressed if LC had brought up her alleged inventing of the word drag with her stage direction dressed as girl. But she didn't. It was obvious that Jasmine was going to die a long and painful death as Betsy DeVos on that Snatch Game set the minute the camera turned on her. First off, why was that line down her forehead? In fact, just plain why to the whole thing. Thursday. Angie seemed to have a strong start too, but it was clear that she didn't really know what to do with Tammy Brown except mumble and give everyone the thumbs up. It's too bad. She could have asked Ru about walking children in nature, but she didn't. And her choice of wardrobe for Tammy was disappointing me too. Was she walking children in nature? I will admit that I was impressed with how much Georges looked like Alana Glazer, but it was clear that she wasn't going to land any laughs, bless. To be honest, I'm not really that familiar with Alana Glazer, but that shouldn't have stopped me from laughing at funny things Georges said. It's just that she didn't say anything funny, bless her heart. I was so excited about Willow impersonating Drew Barrymore, and off the top, she was killing it with that lisp, but then Ru reminded her that this wasn't their first time meeting because they both worked on the talent contest show The World's Best together. That seemed to deflate Willow right then and there, and, well, mispronouncing the word conscience didn't help her either. I was so impressed with how much Bosco actually looked like Gwyneth Paltrow. Don't get me wrong, I don't know if I'd have guessed that's who she was doing, but once I looked at her nameplate, I could see it. But sadly, that's where the similarities ended. From her voice to the not very funny products she kept hauling out, and, well, the lack of humor in her answers, this was a far cry from her performance as a moderator last week. I'm so serious. Daya as Ozzy Osbourne was another one I was expecting a lot from off the top, because I don't think she was doing a bad job. I mean, the accent was wrong, and, well, the jacket was unfortunate. I mean, doesn't Ozzy only wear black? And as long as I'm going to nitpick, those glasses were too big and not blue enough. But still, off the hop, not too bad. And then the hopping stopped. One of the issues that came up was that allegedly Daya's Ozzy Osbourne was copying Bosco's Gwyneth Paltrow's answers. Whether that was true or not, I feel that this was a missed opportunity for Daya to make a joke or two. But she didn't. I don't even think she tried. All in all, I felt that contestants Raven and Dove Cameron were funnier than most of the queens. But of course, the real standout was Deja's Lil Jon. But I wonder how funny she would have been if the other queens hadn't sucked so badly, no offense. I thought the funniest thing she did was when her grill fell out. To say this Snatch Game was disappointing is putting it lightly. The queens all seemed to glom onto catchphrases or iconic points for their impersonations, but missed giving any of their impressions personalities. It made me wonder what these queens' drag mothers are teaching them. Seriously. Now, I'm a queen whose drag mother is YouTube, but I'm 55. I've seen things. These 20-somethings don't get exposed to iconic cornerstones of celebrity the way my generation did growing up. And sadly, the celebrities that they are exposed to now really haven't been around long enough to be iconic yet. Kennedy Davenport's Little Richard and Ginger Minge's Adele from season 7 are prime examples of how to give an impersonation life. Were either of those impressions exactly like the celebrities? Not at all. But probably because of that, they were beyond funny, and they both ended up winning that Snatch Game. Just saying. Seriously, take note, future drag racers. Do your homework. We're living in an age where information is available and instant. It shouldn't take more than an afternoon to research a real celebrity online. Watch their interviews. Your celebrity impersonation shouldn't come off as a last-minute decision. Seriously. Whew. I feel better getting that off my chest, I'm just saying. Once the challenge was over and the queens were put out of their misery, Deja did some well-deserved, yet still humble-esque gloating in the workroom. The other queens had little to say as they all felt they were in trouble, and rightly so. Needless to say, there was a very somber mood as they all prettied up for the runway. Putting the whole ordeal behind her, Willow was hoping that her runway look would redeem her of her failed Snatch Game. As the theme was holy couture, and that's holy as in reverent, not holy as in worn out, she shared her appreciation of mushrooms, specifically the magic variety. Apparently, due to her own illness, Willow found that psychedelic mushrooms have helped her with a lot. Bless. And then it was time to head to the main stage. Ru looked fabulous in a bias-cut metallic pink and purple woven fabric that would have had Chanel gagging. Seriously. Michelle looked beyond lovely with her hair in a side chinois, but I wasn't a fan of that blue lace dress. It looked a little cheap, sorry to say. Now, if she'd worn that dress in Jersey, then she would have been the belle of the ball. It's all about location, location, location. Carson was looking extra in his white dinner jacket and pale pink chemise, while Dove Cameron, looking all kinds of gorgeous, was back from her stint as a contestant on Snatch Game, although I wouldn't have blamed her if she'd just gone home after that train wreck. Bless her heart. And then it was time for the runway. Category is Holy Couture. Deja Skye was first down the catwalk as Joan Jett of Arc, and although I thought she's worn better and I thought her look was a bit busy, I didn't hate it, so I gave her a Fingerdoo. Jasmine surprised the hell out of me this week. I just loved her runway, and then she surprised me again with that reveal, which I loved even more. 2 Fingerdoos for Miss Kennedy, you heard me too. 1 from each hand. I loved Angeria's take on this runway theme. As opposed to representing an actual holy figure, she went with a hat-wearing church lady. Fingerdoo for Angie. Willow's red and white mushroom was fascinating, but I don't think it hit the brief, so I had to give her a Fingerdoo, which is too bad because it looked like she was having fun. Daya's Bride of Christ, or whatever it was, looked okay from the waist up, but that mid-leg hem and black hose was atrocious. If you ask me, her tragic fall on the runway was a blessing in disguise because it hid all the ugliness that was going on in that skirt area, if you ask me. And can we have a moment to appreciate how she tried to recover her fall by delivering face? Still, Fingerdoo for Daya. I think I would have liked Georges's runway without the mitre hat or that oversized blunt. It was a cute dress, but with the accoutrement, I had to give this look a Fingerdoo, I'm so sorry to say. No offense to Lady Camden, but somebody needed to slap that outfit off her. It had absolutely nothing to do with the runway category. I felt like it was something she'd brought with her to the competition and was going to wear one way or the other. Too bad, because I gave it a Fingerdoo. Thank goodness for Bosco, because after all those Fingerdoos, it was nice to give someone a Fingerdoo. And Bosco's blasphemous nun, complete with goat hooves, was more than deserving of one. It was a good note to end the runway on. Seriously. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Well, mainly Michelle, who read all the queens to filth for one of the worst Snatch Games in Drag Race Herstory. And thank God she did, because up till now, I think that dubious honor was held by Canada's Drag Race on season 1. I'm not going to go through the judges' critiques because they were all pretty predictable. Deja Skye seemed to be the only queen to avoid a negative review on all fronts. As for the other queens, whether they had a good runway or not, they were all held accountable for contributing to the Snatch Game train wreck. So they should be. Take note, baby queens. No one cares if you look like the celebrity as long as you're funny. Seriously. How many times do I have to say it? Back in the Untucked Lounge, Deja was relieved and thrilled to not have only made it through the dreaded Snatch Game, but to be the only one of the cast to do it successfully as far as the judges were concerned. And the rest of the queens agreed that Deja was probably going to be this week's winner. I thought it was kind of spooky that LC predicted that the rest of the queens would be sent home this week, and that more than a couple of the queens chastised her for putting it out there in the universe. Well, it's too late. She said it. She couldn't pull it back in. No matter how the queens quantified it, there wasn't one of them, short of Deja, who felt safe going back to that main stage. Bless their hearts. Georges was not taking this well and seemed to be on the verge of quitting when, surprise, surprise, her whole family popped up in a video message, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Her parents were so supportive, and finding out that Georges has an older gay brother who's been helping her get to where she is today was beyond beautiful. So was he. Needless to say, Georges became a wet, teary mess. She was missing her family so much. There wasn't a dry eye in that workroom. Hell, even I shed a few tears, and I'm an old boot. I can't afford to lose the moisture. Jorge, refill. Dove Cameron also made an appearance in the workroom, much to the Queen's delight. Of course, they all rehashed their feels over the judges' critiques. Dove made a good point about how life is what you make it, and that your opinion is the only one that matters. Well, unless you want to win $100,000 on RuPaul's Drag Race, I'm just saying. Speaking of, back on the main stage, it was no surprise to anyone that Deja Skye was this week's winner. Here's to Deja Skye, finally, pulling one out of the fire. Good for her. What was a surprise, even though the queens all joked about it backstage, was that everyone else was in the bottom. Gag. All 7 of the remaining queens are going to have to lip sync for their lives. All Daya heard was that she was just as bad as Jasmine was. Seriously, Daya's got to get over herself. If she really thinks Jasmine sucks so bad, why doesn't she just leave her alone and let herself destruct? Personally, I thought being lumped into the bottom with everyone else would have sent Daya a message. Apparently I was wrong. The further shock was that the queens wouldn't be lip-syncing right there and then. Ru was going to have a lip-sync Lollapalooza smackdown next week that would obviously be excluding Deja Skye. Gasp. After so many seasons with questionable calls from RuPaul, I have to say this public hand smack was a breath of fresh air. The only queens who I think are going into this lip-sync worry-free have to be Georges and Jasmine. As for the rest, now's the time to throw those padded behinds into high gear. I'm so serious. What do you think? Was that the worst Snatch Game in the history of Drag Race? Is it worth a 7-queen lip-sync battle? Who are you worried for? This is our 2nd week in a row without an elimination, and we still have that chocolate bar situation to handle. What do you think about that? All we can do is tune into RuPaul's Drag Race next week to see how it all plays out. Until then, let me know what you think in the comments down below. While you're down there, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'm so close to 8,000 subscribers, I could just plot. And if you'd like to help support this channel, check out all my links in the description box down below. Until next week, miss me! Seriously, Jorge. I have to say, I am so glad that Ru slapped everybody with a lip sync. I think that that has to be the biggest wake-up call, not only for the queens on this season, but for anybody thinking about doing Drag Race. I'm just really happy that Deja won. I think that it was a great moment. I mean, I don't want to diminish her win by saying everyone else was so bad that she was better, because she made good choices. She played that game right. She deserved to win, but oh my God. There are some queens that I think, you know, I'm glad they've got a win because I don't think they're getting another one. Bless them all. Seriously, 7 lip syncs next week. Oh. And if the person that's eliminated has the chocolate bar, that'll be 3 weeks without oh, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. You know what, Jorge, go ahead. Give me a refill. I can't.